I'm Kirsty McCluckie. I'm with the community development team for the council, for Argyll and Bute Council. So I'm going to hand you over to Paul in the first instance to talk about the create maps for the community engagement.
And so I am a member of the Royal Town Planning Institute. So I've trained as a planner. I've worked in the local authority doing cases and assessing applications, and I've also been working for 3 years with Planning Aid Scotland as the social enterprise manager, either running local place plans alongside communities as a kind of consultant, or actually training and mentoring communities to do that. So, for example, in Fife, for a year and a half, a couple of years ago, I supported 10 communities to run their own local place plans, and they've all now been registered and submitted to Fife Council for further assessment. I have a background in community development. I've lived in and worked in at-risk or marginalised communities in Scotland for my whole career. Buckhaven, the moment in Fife, Dummy Dykes, and also Postle Park in North Glasgow. And I now have my own little company called Place the Table. I've just put a link in the chat for you to check out what that is. Okay, mapping for local place plans. Here's what I can do for you later if you're interested. This isn't what this is about, but it's kind of what I do. So if you're interested, you can contact me about project management, facilitation, policy work. I can write justifications for local place plans using all the policy jargon you need. I can write draft plans. I can code data for you. I can train you to do all of the above. I can bring mentoring and just-in-time coaching, and I can help you with mediation if you get stuck. Okay, so the big thing about local place plans, everyone's been able to do community action plans since forever. This new tool, local place plan, since 2019, it gives you a new quiver in your arrow if you are a community group to specifically influence the spatial planning system so that you can put forward for the first time your own proposals for actual policies to be taken forward and become a statutory part of the future local development plan. I'm just going to assume that that kind of rings true with you and that you know enough to know what that all means. But please ask any questions at the end if that's a little bit mystifying to you. But here's the thing, the main thing about a local place plan that's different from a community-wide action plan is that it wants to ask the question where. And that's because spatial planning is basically about where stuff happens. Where is the best place for this particular type of development? Or should some of our places be protected against development, basically? And where are they? So, and what's the best way to express where? It's the simplest usually is visually. Vision is visual. We use maps. We can supplement it with text, but we use maps. So I'm going to talk about two particular tools that you can use. But I really want to stress, first of all, that Hannah, I haven't met Hannah, but I am very good friends with someone at the community at the Coalfield Regeneration Trust based in Kincardine called Enid Trevitt. If you're in a former coalfields area, which you might be if you're in Argyll and Bute, can't quite remember, then Enid could help you. However, Enid loves green maps. She swears by it. She thinks it's ace. And I've seen what it can do. So if you can spend a few minutes afterwards hanging out with Hannah, there are many tools to do the things that I'm going to show you. Green maps is a really good one. I'm going to show you a couple of others, but they're all as good as each other. And you just have to choose the right one for you. So here's the question. What tools should we use and when? So here is a little simple roadmap of a possible local place plan process that might take place over 5 or 6 months. Start with some foundation laying, figuring out what your steering group has to do, thinking about your engagement strategy. Maybe the next month you would actually do your engagements. Now, a lot of that might be face-to-face in a local hall or in discussion groups, but you may want to do online engagement either through a simple survey or form, maybe Google Forms or Microsoft Forms, or you could use a free tool to community councils, which is called PlaceCheck. And I'm going to talk to you about that. What makes PlaceCheck different? Well, it's free. It's really easy to use. And what it does is it enables, through a very simple setup process, people in your community to drop a pin on a map online on a browser or on their phones and say whether something that they like, dislike, or want to change about your place. I'm going to demonstrate that in a minute. That can be part of your engagement strategy. You can have an online survey that goes beyond just words and a form and actually allows people to drop a pin in a map and say what they want to say, even if you pay a little bit more to upload photos of what they're talking about. Then you might, once you've got all your data through all your different means, you might analyze that data. Well, you'd have to figure your way through it and see what it's actually really trying to say, what your whole community is saying. And then the next stage, you'll need to develop a draft plan. Now, I'm going to show you a simple way to write a proposal in a way that would be meaningful in a local place plan. But what you're going to need then is some kind of map to express where you want stuff to go. And I'm going to show you a tool that's also free at the moment if you sign up as a community council. Some of you may have already, which is called Parish Online. In Scotland, it's called Community Map Scotland because we don't have parishes, but it's the same program. And that too is free for 12 months. I'm going to show you a bit about how to use that, how simple it is. And then once you've developed your draft, you then have to go out for a 28-day statutory notice period where you share your draft plan with your councillors, your local authority councillors for your area, and all the surrounding community councils to your place, so that they have a chance to make representations as to what they think should happen, to what they think about your proposals. Now, I always use that 28-day notice period to also survey the community again and to check in with them that what we've said in the plan based on what they said previously is what they whether they approve of that. I sometimes do a survey where I ask them if they support, object to, or are neutral about each proposal, and then get a chance to write why. Simple survey. And then you can change your plan again, and then you can submit. So that's the sort of overview. So we're going to look at two tools, one for the engagement phase at the front end and one for the developing the draft phase at the back end. Now, the only phase where you must create two maps is when you're developing your draft plan. I'm showing you PlaceCheck for the engagement phase because I think it could really help you, but not because you actually have to use this at all. Okay, gathering data, the engagement phase. So we're going to look at this thing called PlaceCheck, right? So PlaceCheck. Oh, Danny, I've just seen a question. So development trusts, it depends. Once you can go on. So the tricky thing for development trusts, you probably have to pay a little bit of money if you're not a community council to PlaceCheck if you want to use it, and I can show you the fees. But if you can find a way to work with your local community council, then they can apply on your behalf. With Parish Online, a community council can access it for free, because a community council can also, for free, as a statutory body in the planning system, get a free license from the Ordnance Survey called a Public Sector Geospatial Agreement, which I'll talk about later. There's a very simple sign-up process to that, which means that community councils can use OS mapping for free for public good use and publish it as well. Now, Parish Online is based on OS mapping. It's not strictly the case that charities who aren't community councils or community groups that aren't community councils can get an Ordnance Survey PSGA for free. So you might have to pay for that, but you should be able to get the actual program Parish Online for free. So thanks for that question, Danny. If I need to repeat that, just let me know at the end. So PlaceCheck. Kirsty might be able to just pop a link into chat to this. So it's www.placecheck.info. And immediately you can see what it's going to start looking like. But here is a place check that I've just run in Balfron in Glasgow. And what you can see here is a map of Balfron, and you can see 3 different colors of pin that's being dropped in a map on the left-hand side. That's from a computer screen. Someone's gone to a browser window or different people and dropped those pins on. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see that's the screen that people can see on their phone, and they can do the same thing through their phone. They just click on a particular map link. And there's a simple explanation of how to do this place check that people can work through. But I'm just going to click here and show you live. So with place check, you can zoom in and out. Now the Balfron map happens to be locked at the moment. So you can ask the developers to lock the map once you've finished your consultation, but then you can reopen it again. So I can't actually drop a pin here, but you would literally click on the map after you have to sign up, send your email in. If you go to the About screen, it explains to you what you have to do. You can see on the comments tab a list of everything that everyone's said, if you want it in a list form. Oops, sorry. But just going back to the actual place check screen, if I click on that icon there, so someone said social local housing. This village needs more provision for locals, young and old, to remain living in the area, priced out of the market. And you'll also see there's an agree and a disagree button. So other people can upvote and downvote that comment if they want to. So you can get a sense of the strength of feeling around that comment. More positively, someone said flower beds are stunning all year round and women do an amazing job in our village. So they dropped that in as a green or like pin. 8 people have disagreed with that. So obviously Balfron and Bloom's going really well. And then there's a little spanner orange icon that you can drop in. So a change required would be great if we had a cash machine on a shop for 24-hour access to cash. Maybe their local bank's closed recently and someone else has agreed with that. So it's really simple to set up and to use. And I love that because as a survey tool, you want to keep questions really simple and the process really simple. Otherwise, people will just switch off straight away and not bother. And it's very open questions. So you're going to, when you start out with your engagement, you want to ask really open questions before drilling down so that everyone has a chance to say everything that they want to say. So that is a great little tool that I really recommend. I'm just going to move forward. So as you can see, there's 3 different colors of icons. It's simple and easy. It really gets used. It's accessible, it's fun, and it's free, at least to community councils, or very cheap to other charities. Here's an example of the data you get out. So once your survey's closed, you can ask the developer to send you a spreadsheet of the outputs for you to analyze and code. So you'll get, the column will say, well, was it a like, dislike, or a change, the first column. Then what it is will be listed as in terms of what someone said as describing the pin, an explanation of how they've expanded on that. So someone here has put a road is difficult for cyclists, but we really want a safe route into town. It'll have a column for all the upvotes, a column for all the downvotes, and brilliantly, if you ask for it, you can get a Google URL for that particular pin, which means you can click on that link and see instantly where it is, which I'm going to do now. So I'm clicking on the top link and bang. Oh, so that's where it was talking about, that exact comment. So you've got a loop to go back round. Once you've got your data, if you're interested in a particular comment and you want to know where it was talking about, you can click on a Google link and know exactly where it is at a later date. Now that is super helpful if you're having a conversation with your steering group around developing the plan and your proposals, because you can literally just click and go, oh, here's all the locations that people have said might be suitable for that similar thing. And you can have a debate about which you think is the best before you continue. So that's a really helpful outputs from, oh, clicked on the wrong thing there. Sorry about that. I just want to move forward, please. Cool. So here's how simple it is. If you go to the website, you email admin@placecheck.info. tell them the name of the place check you want. So if you're in Helensburgh, you might say Helensburgh place check. But it's up to you. And then you tell them the center of the area that you want to place check. So you could just screen grab a Google map and draw a little red dot where you want it to be centered. Now then, so here's the charges. Community and neighborhood organizations, civic societies and school free. Local authority, voluntary organizations and business improvement districts 250. Development trusts, you could argue it, I don't know. You just talk with the developers. Private sector organizations, 500 squids. You could add a boundary to the map. Now that's particularly helpful if you're in I think in an urban area. So you could actually get them to draw a boundary on the map so that you could, whereas normally in the free version, there's no kind of boundary. People just place it where they want to. That's 100 quid. And you could ask for, you could pay a bit more money and people could have the opportunity to literally take a photo on their phone and upload it while they're standing on the street corner that they've just dropped a pin into. There you go. Now, the one thing it can't do is gather what I call segmentation data, or data about the people that are actually dropping in the comments. So if you want to do that, what I do is I have a separate link first from a basic single web page on a website somewhere to a Google form, get people to fill out that Google form, which is what I've just done. I've just set this up for Anderston in Glasgow. Ask the questions you need to ask, be careful about GDPR. And at the end, once they've clicked onto the next section, they can click through to the place check survey. That way you're going to collect the data about the people who are commenting, as well as the data regarding the comments they make. Right, so that's place check. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. Use it all the time, can't recommend it enough. Big bang for your buck. Now then, second phase that I want to talk about. Now this is the phase where you actually have to do 2 maps for your local place plan to be validated. Validation means that there's that the local authority that you've submitted your plan to considers that they've gathered all the elements that are specifically required by legislation and policy to allow them to register it, put it on the public register for later assessment. It's just like a gate check moment, a bit like a planning application. You have to tick all the boxes for a planning application as well. So there's a couple of maps that are required so that your document can be validated, and you only need 2, strictly speaking. A lot of community groups do more. Come to that in a minute. So draft plan phase. How to display the data? Well, what maps, first of all, are actually required for submission? Here is, I'm pretty sure Argyll and Bute, if you type in local place plan validation requirements, have got a list up. But basically, that list is based on the 2022 local place plan circular. And if you go to Planning Aid Scotland's website, who I used to work for, and who are a training partner with Community Map Scotland that I'm just going to talk about, and you can download a guide to local place plans that I wrote. It's free, and there's a checklist based on the circular that you can tick off to make sure you've got everything sorted. And here it is. And if you look here, the 2 bits that I've highlighted in yellow are the 2 maps that you must submit and must be able to be ticked off as being present in your plan by the planner that receives it. First one is a map of the boundary of the local place plan. Now, in case you didn't know, Community Council or any other qualifying organisation, it's known as a community body that's submitting the plan, has free rein to choose the boundary of their local place plan. Most communities are choosing community council boundaries or a settlement boundary, but I have seen communities run a local place plan at district scale. Tricky. And technically, you could submit a local place plan that is 1 site. I stress as well that if you are going to do a local place plan in a particular area, it doesn't have to be comprehensive. You don't have to say everything that needs to be said about every bit of land. You can choose an area like your community council boundary and then choose 4 locations. Crossford, if you go to the Fife Council registered local place plans page and download the Crossford local place plan, you'll see that they chose the community council boundary of Crossford as their area. and they have a map in their local place plan showing what that boundary is, but then they only chose to say something about 4 different things or sites. That's just what they wanted to focus on, and that would be absolutely fine. So, you know, if you're kind of wondering, well, what could we say in a local place plan? You could literally put in a local place plan that is a single site in your community and say, we want this to happen there. So those 2 maps, I call them boundary maps and legend maps. Example boundary map. This is for Muckett. I'm going to be working in Muckett next year. This is literally the map that you might find on the local authority website or the National Community Council's website that shows, as you know, the boundary of a particular community council. Now you could literally just find that PDF or map, screen grab it and plop it in your plan. And that's you validated for one of your maps. Now, obviously, that's only if you're doing, if your boundary is the actual community council area. If it's or you could use Parish Online, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So Parish Online uses Ordnance Survey mapping as a base layer, and there's an overlay that you can click, which just overlays all the boundaries of every local community council in the whole of Scotland. So just before this, I just went into Community Map Scotland and opened it up, and the default layers are this Ordnance Survey base map and the Community Council boundary overlay. So I zoomed into Loch Gilphead, screen grabbed it, bang, drop it into your plan. Make sure if you're doing that you have a PSGA, Public Sector Geospatial Agreement, which is free if you're a community council, or you've got the rights to use whatever map you're going to use, and in this case it would be the Ordnance Survey map. Maybe you just wanted to do Loch Gilphead as a town though, so you could literally get a map and plop it into Word if you wanted to, Microsoft Word, and draw a simple boundary around it and just say, this is the area we want to talk about in our local place plan. Dead easy. Here's something I want to stress. There is no requirement to do digital mapping for a local place plan. You could submit hand-drawn maps as long as they are clear and understandable by the planners. Now, it's possible, I would offer that nowadays that might be a little bit harder for most of us than simply grabbing some maps and drawing a line around it in Word. But it all depends on your skill set and your focus. So that's if you want to draw a boundary. Now, that's the boundary map. Now, what about the proposals map? Now, this is a slightly fancy one, so don't take this as the example and you go, oh, that looks too fancy. But basically, the legend map, which is the second one that you must submit, is a map of your area or several submaps if you have a very wide area, where you show very clearly where your proposals are located, the proposals that are following on from these maps in your documents. So when I draw up a local place plan, every proposal has a number, and then I key the number to an overview map like I have done here. This is what we did in North Berwick. So here you can see North Berwick came up with 20 proposals. They're about to submit to have their plan registered. And here's 6 of them. Number 7 is harbour regeneration. So we've got a number right next to the harbour. Number 12, provision of healthcare facilities. So that number 12 in the middle of the map is over the Eddington Hospital, which is where they were talking about. So you use this legend map to show the planners very clearly, spatially, where each proposal that you're talking about actually is in your community, so that there can be no ambiguity. That's it. Those are the 2 maps that you must submit. Now then, most communities, however, also go a bit further and have a map for each proposal, because most proposals will actually be talking about somewhere, a location. You don't have to do this, but most communities do. So here for your delectation is this would be a suitable proposal to submit to your local authority. I did this in 10 minutes in a program called Canva, which is free and it's online and you can sign up. It's basically like PowerPoint. I did it 20 minutes before this presentation deliberately to show you how easy it could be. So what you see here is an imaginary proposal for a community garden. This is proposal 1, community garden. What we have here is, you don't have to do this, by the way. You don't actually have to have a little map, but proposal 1, you can see this is in Buckhaven. So there's an area of vacant and derelict land on the edge of my community, and I've plonked a wee map from Parish Online, an Ordnance Survey map, into PowerPoint, and then I've drawn a red line around the area that I'm talking about. So that's an area of vacant and derelict land in Buckhaven. And I plopped in a photo that I grabbed from somewhere. I should really have got a license to do it, to kind of show the planners and the community the kind of thing we're talking about. Now, then I've talked about what we're going to try and achieve. So as a project, you might call this a community action plan project. We would say something like, who's going to do it? Okay, it's the local charity Clear. Who might the partners be? The council, other charities in the area. What's the time frame going to be? The next 3 years. I'm going to try and do this in the next 3 years. Indicative cost, 60K, including buying the land. Actions and first steps, buy land after securing planning consent. Little freebie for you all. If you as community groups are ever thinking about buying land and then doing something on it, never, ever, ever buy the land before you get planning consent. You can get planning permission in principle and planning consent on land you don't own. Make sure you do that before you buy the land, because if you buy it and then can't get planning consent, that's a real waste of time. Here's another top tip. If you're buying the land from the council assets department, still make sure that you're going to get planning consent from the separate planning department. I have seen it on several occasions that community groups have assumed that buying land from the council means they'll automatically get planning permission. But of course, the council is 2 different departments who don't talk to each other. Sometimes assets I've seen sell land to people that they can't then use because the planning department tells them they can't do it. Be careful. Anyway, that's an aside. So that's the community action plan project bit. What's the local place plan proposal? And I talk about action plan projects and local place plan proposals, because we're talking about 2 different things, although they're happening on the same site, and they're intertwined. A local place plan proposal would be this for this site. We request that the proposed change of use of the site, which used to be a pub, from former pub to community garden be included in the LDP, granting planning permission in principle. Basically, your local development plan proposal is saying, we're planning to do this. The land is vacant, but its existing lawful use nevertheless remains pub, because the pub was only knocked down 5 years ago. So we want to de-risk buying the land by making sure that we get your consent in principle for this project and sticking it in the NDP up front. That's your proposal. And then the justification for that, which links back to a couple of other requirements for validation. Because you need to explain in planning terms why you think that's appropriate. You could go to National Planning Performance Framework Policy 9 Brownfield, which basically says we want to bring brownfield land back into use. And you could say Policy 25 of National Planning Framework for Community Wealth Building, which basically says we will support proposals that build community wealth. For any given thing within your local place plan, you could have an explanation of how you want to deliver this and an explanation of what your proposal is. But let's be really clear, for a local place plan, you don't have to have a delivery plan alongside your proposal. And that's because what you're trying to do is influence policy through a local place plan. You can also put in the information about your how you're going to deliver if you want to, but you don't have to. If you do both, make it really clear for the planners which is which. It will be frustrating for them to have to comb through a document that isn't pretty clear. This is what we're saying to you as planners and what our proposal is. And also remember that because you're making a proposal to the local development plan, it may have nothing to do with you in the future as to whether that is developed in that particular way or not, because you could be making a proposal to say, here is our conservation area boundary. We think it should be extended. So you're not trying to develop anything there. You're just trying to control development in your area. So that's another reason why you wouldn't have a delivery element to some of your proposals. Anyway, I did that in 10 minutes. That is a legitimate and full proposal. But the point is, although you don't have to, many people are dropping in more precise location maps to each proposal where relevant. Okay, so for the last bit of my presentation, and here's one we've done in Gairloch. So again, it's slightly more clever stuff with an Ordnance Survey base map using Adobe Illustrator. Don't worry about that. There's a little dot saying this is what our proposal is. It's number 1, services and under the services and facilities theme. There's a close-up map outlining the area of the park. There's a description of the proposal, and there's a justification according to National Planning Framework 4. You don't need to do a justification in the same way that you don't need to ever justify a proposal in a community action plan. You just write it and do it. In reverse, you can write a proposal for a local place plan and not have a set of delivery outcomes for that. The word delivery does not occur once in the 2022 local place plan circular. And even if your council's template document for a local place plan, and I've seen this, suggests that somehow a delivery plan for each project or proposal is required, it's not. Helpful, but not required for a local place plan submission. Right, so what's this second tool? The second tool is called Parish Online, but in Scotland it's called Community Map Scotland. It's the same thing, but in Scotland we don't have parishes, so they renamed it to make sense. It's called Community Map Scotland. This is a tool. It can't do what PlaceCheck does. It can't you can't display it on a screen and receive people's comments on it. This tool is to use to make detailed maps and also to layer up data that you can access directly from your local authority to make your proposal maps easier to do. So it's free for the first 12 months when you sign up for it in Scotland, and then after that it's a nominal fee depending on the size of your community, which is explicit on their website. Anyway, so Community Map Scotland, these are the partners, the Improvement Service, who support local authorities across Scotland, Planning Aid Scotland, who are the training partner, and I used to work for them, and then community councils in general. Basically what happens is the Improvement Service gathers loads of data from all the local authorities and repopulates it into a simple browser-based program developed by Geosphere, the developers, to give you data on a plate at your screen as a community council. Perhaps Kurt, I'll do it, I think. So I'm just going to put a link. So that's the link to the page that explains what it is in Scotland, how you can sign up and what it does. Now, right at the bottom of that page, you'll see this button to say create your mapping account. But it says really clearly here, click the link below to sign up. And then select subscribe when prompted instead of trial. Don't choose the trial version, choose the subscribe version. But then when it asks for a code, at the point where it says please pay, type in CMS12 to get your 12 months free. So go to that page, put it in the chat, and you can create your own account for Parish Online. Now, the good thing about Parish Online is once you've got an account, you can create any number of sub-counts for multiple users to be able to use it. As an admin, so as an administrator, you can make multiple sub-counts for people. sub-accounts. It's 1841. Okay, so apologies, I just, gosh, what an Egypt. What am I doing? Move forward. There we go. If you want to see a local place plan that's been validated and registered that used Community Map Scotland / Parish Online, go to Thornhill and Blair Drummond's plan, which is on Stirling Council's website. So here's the screen that opens up when you log into Parish Online. So you've got a large screen with an OS base layer. And the first thing that you see is it has just one overlay open, which is the lines of all the parish councils, and it happens to be over Edinburgh. So the key thing here is that Parish Online works using ArcGIS. ArcGIS basically includes little data packets within icons and lines that are placed within the map. And so you can access additional information, not just the actual spatial map. And then you'll see on the screen down the left-hand side, you've got a menu with green options and brown options. The green options are various layers, base layers of Ordnance Survey maps. The brown layers are the overlays that you can drop over the top to help you. And then along the top, you can print from here. And if you're a community council with an Ordnance Survey PSGA, you can print, export, drop it in your document, and also use for print out full physical versions if you want to for consultation use. As long as it's for public good use on behalf of the community council and the community, and you have the PSGA license, you can do all of that. So I'll just click here. This is me going into my Parish Online account demo version. So there's like a login screen where you type in your email address and password. And this is live now, so I'm going to zoom in and out. So you can zoom all the way out. It'll think to itself for a little bit. And it should come back up again. There you go. That's boundaries of all the community councils across the whole of Scotland. So if we go over to Argyllshire, there you go. Open. You can see Kilmore and Kilbride. If you zoom in closer, you get closer into the map, closer still, and you actually see. So this is a really good way to see exactly where the boundaries are for the community councils that surround you. So that's Kilmore and Kilbride, and you can keep zooming in, and you can get really, really detailed. So that's basic. That's the basic screen. So I'll show you printing first. So you can choose to print. You can choose your size of print from A4 to A3. You can choose portrait or landscape. You can choose the scale, 1 to 250, 2,500, all the way up, just like an Ordnance Survey map. And you can print either as a image file, a PNG, or a PDF, and you can include a legend, you can hide labels, you can include a north arrow. And then what you do is, so if I choose PNG here, and I go a bit wider, A3, print. That's a bit of a boring map. So you can see at the bottom left-hand corner, it's thinking to itself, it's sending data to its own server, and then it's going to ping you back the output PNG, which you click on, and it appears on your screen, and then you can copy that image and drop it into a Word document. Do what you want with it. So one way you can use Parish Online is you can create those, just use it to get Ordnance Survey mapping really easily, drop that into your program of choice, and then do all your drawing. Or you can do that in Parish Online. And I'll show you that in a second. But first, I just want to show you some of the functionality of the Ordnance Survey. So how do you know which base layer you're on? Okay, you look at this menu at the left. You've got lots of green Can also send to a printing company and get a large banner. Yeah, it costs you about, well, it depends on the size. If you want a really large banner like 2.4 meters or by 3.4 meters, and it's a large area, you might have to stitch a number of maps together to do that, and that's a little bit tricky. So, but technically, yes, you can, as long as you've got the PSGA. I'll come back to questions in a minute. Well, it's got a little circle around this arrow, so that's how you know, and you can see this tick box. So at the moment, the base layer is OS Premium Stack Standard. I can click it off. Ah, it's gone. Monochrome. Ooh, that's nice. Let's try a lighter version, or the Outlaw stack. Okay. You could have a little look at, sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to think to itself. I better put the map back on there. Here we go. So let's go to Edinburgh. Let's have a look at live traffic data. There we go. Live traffic data. That's pretty cool. There's various, you can just play around with this. So you can just change the map. You can only have one base layer on at any given time, basically. So I'm going to leave that one on the standard, that is the one that's open normal. Now, the fun bit is, okay, what happens with all these extra layers? So this is the data on a plate. This is putting local authority mapping data into your hands. Bang, really helpful. Now, there's no substitute for just having a play around here, but I'll show you a few options. So isochrones travel time. If I click in here, I use the tool actually. So I've just clicked on a map. An isochrone is a map that shows you distance over time. So I've just clicked randomly in the middle of this map. Maybe I'll do it with, where's LocGilpad? Here it is, better, LocGilpad. Right, so what we've done here was for cars, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and 30 minutes. That's green, orange, and red. That's how far you're going to get in a car, roughly, in 30 minutes. That's the red. You can change that to walking. And you can also do cycling. You can change the distances that you're talking about. 10 minutes is there. This is helpful if you want to demonstrate, might want to demonstrate what your 20-minute neighborhood is for NPF4 policy justification. You want to show how far it takes to get from a location or to a location. So isochrones are fun. That uses the tool icon. There's a whole bunch of options in local place plan. In particular, probably one of the most helpful is I've had them stick in an option for creating site location markers. So you choose the cogwheel, add feature, you choose a number. So this is to help you create your legend map. And then you drop it there. Oh, why doesn't that come up? Do I need to do this? Test. Save. There you go. Point number 1. So you can drop them in, any number of them, and you can choose the number each time, and then you can change the number later. So that's a way that you can do the very basic legend map very easily in Parish. I'm aware of time, 10 minutes to go. In terms of the actual layers that you can layer up, you could put in grass points, postcode areas. Argyll and Bute LDP. Somebody's been helpful. Land allocations. There you go. Land allocations of the current LDP for Argyll and Bute. Good job. So that's there already. You can just screen grab that. That's really good to do. Or you could screen grab that and draw an extra line and say, well, we want to extend that. Nature conservation sites. There you go. From Argyll and Bute. That's pretty cool. Yes, we asked for it. Thanks, Sheila. Good job. EPCs, whatever you think of EPCs, interesting to see what all the houses in Loch Gilphead's EPCs currently are, as far as the data is up to date. Environment Scotland, listed buildings and conservation areas. There you go. There's your conservation area and listed buildings in Loch Gilphead. You can click on each of these points, listed building. Sorry, I'll zoom in. Let's stop soon. Well, I'll just jump. You can click on those data points, click on a link, and it'll take you through to the exact Historic Environment Scotland listed building description. There is education. You can put in find out about your catchment areas for your schools and locate all of those. Environment, green belts, local nature reserves, local conservation sites, tree preservation orders. And I'll finish in a minute. Vacant and derelict land. There you go. Vacant and derelict land on the vacant and derelict land register in Loch Gilphead. Political, polling places and districts. Flood risk, coastal flood risk, high, medium, and low. Statistics, indices of multiple deprivation. There you go. You can click on and get information on each index of multiple deprivation. And here's the thing, you can layer them up. So I could, if I'm interested to find out which listed buildings randomly are in the poorest data set of Loch Gilphead, there you go. That's quite cool. So you can have multiple overlays at one time. And I'm almost done. So water, culverts. That's an interesting one. Roman Britain, transport. There's all sorts of stuff. Core paths, that's helpful to have. That's a good one. Cycling networks. Now then, there are ways to mark up this stuff as well within the program. I don't have quite enough time to show you that, but to finish off, once you get an account, I've done it again. Just want to move forward. So make sure you get your PSGA from the Ordnance Survey to use this. You can also apply for a free license from the Aerial Photography Great Britain Society and put in a code which will open up aerial mapping within Parish Online. And then finally, if you go to, we'll send out a PDF of this presentation, but there's a website where Geosphere have put up loads and loads and loads of different videos for doing different things within Parish Online. Okay, I think that's me done. Thanks, that's my information. We'll send this PDF around should you want to get a hold of me later.
We're just going to have a wee extra bit of time. I know we've gone over the time, but it's just been great. And if you can stay, that would be amazing to hear Hannah talk about the green maps.
So hopefully you can see my screen. And if you can't, please be vocal.
Yes, we can. Yes,
Yay.
we can.
that's a good start then. So I am going to be really quick. I can't. And I'm first going to just answer the question, what is a green map and why is it different to any other map? So basically green mapping is more of a system for using maps for community consultation. So it's really handy if you're doing consultations around place planning. And it is about creating maps through participation. Now, a local place plan is actually just that. It's a map created by engaging your community. And the good thing about Green Map is that we have loads of icons that you can use to describe your community that actually explore sustainable development. So Green Map stems from a sort of need within communities to start thinking and talking about what we mean by sustainability, because it's actually quite a complex concept. And so what the Green Map icons do is help you explore that just by getting them around people getting around a table, really, and starting to think through, well, you know, where are the good things, where are the bad things, where are the things that we like, you know, where are the things that we naturally hang out. So you'll see an icon on that sheet for like a lively spot. That's not something that would traditionally necessarily sort of be on a mapping data mark, but they're things that you know in your communities. So these tools are trying to prompt you to have those conversations about those things in your communities that are kind of special to you. So that's the icons. Green maps, we always say, should have a clear purpose, so for support sustainable development at a local level. So there's some examples of green maps there. And then the map data is owned by the community. So a really important part of Green Map is that we don't take data, we encourage you to just own and manage your own data. And that is subtly different to some of the other products that are on the market who will exploit your data for all sorts of reasons. Anyway, and really the whole idea of Green Map as well is that as part of making a Green Map, you're also sharing your ideas about communities and with a global community of map makers as well, because there's about 65 countries in the world that do green map making as a methodology for community map making. So we also have a digital platform. It's not as fancy as Parish Online. It is based on open source mapping principles, but we're getting a lot of take up of people doing climate hubs using them and stuff, because our principles really align with some of the objectives of climate hubs as well, about sustainability, open source, and this idea of people solving problems themselves. It does combine some of those tools that Paul was talking about. So what you can do on our platform, our mapping platform, is actually create a survey that is map based, that you can then ask people questions. So it combines those tools with a mapping platform as well, and you can do the fancy stuff like drawing cycle routes and stuff. You can also import data into it. There's things called GPX data, which is essentially, if you've got Strava, if you use GPX data when you go for a walk, you basically get data from that, and you can import that into Green Map and add that to your map. I'm just going to escape that and quickly show you how we're using the tools in Dunoon. So I'm responsible in Dunoon for developing a local place plan. I'm coordinating that process. So we have set up here a survey. So this is a Green Map survey for good ideas. It's not yet been launched, but it's something we'll be doing over the next few months. And this is something that you can do. So our tools just enable you to create these surveys, and you can ask questions, just like that tool that Paul was talking about earlier as well. But you can ask questions in a bit more detail if you want, and you can change those questions and you can edit them. And you can also, I've collected data here about who's contributing as well, just so we know someone to go back to once we know about their idea. But we've also used, so this is a reuse and repair map that we've used. We used to collect we've used Green Map to collect the data about reuse and repair in Dunoon. So that's the map view, and then this is what you get when the data has been added. So you can then go on a point there and find out a little bit more about these places. So our tools are really about you creating maps and publishing them and sharing them in your community. I'm not sure Parish Online actually enables you to share the map, or whether it's behind a wall. I'm not quite sure how that works, but we're very much about community empowerment. Our plan in Dunoon is at this stage to use Green Map tools to create our place plan, and to actually, you can also build a website around your maps as well using the platform, using the Green Map platform. So we'll publish a website that will have all the pages of our report and go through all the maps as well, and then we'll obviously have to figure out a way of also producing that, I think, as a paper-based thing. I suspect you'll need both, although that's a question I have, is like, does your map have to be submitted in paper-based, or can it be done as a little website, as a digital thing? Because that's something I'm interested in finding out. But anyway, our tools are free. You do need to pay for support if you need a bit more support than the free support, and that's something we've done with groups as well. But we really encourage people to just get on and make maps. Our motto is think global, map local. So yeah, obviously very different to what Paul was showing me though. I'm sorry, I didn't want to run over time, so I rather rushed my presentation. But I hope you got a flavour of what Green Map does and what Green Map is. I should also point out we're a not-for-profit, so we're based all over the world. I happen to represent people in Scotland doing Green Map making, but it's a global project, so you're part of that. So it's a useful tool to know about, basically. Hope that was useful.
A whistle-stop tour.
A whistle-stop tour of GreenMap as well. And the website is greenmap.org. And if you look in the resources section as well, there are free downloadable just icon sheets, stickers, that kind of thing. So if you're doing a community consultation, they're just really fun ways of kind of starting to encourage people to talk about sustainability. So there's loads of tools online.